All right, we're here with Shelley Zimmerman, the former chief of police of San Diego. And Shelley, I know you're so busy. You've got so much going on in retirement. And I use air quotes with that because you've never slowed down. And I just want to thank you for taking time. I know it's a busy week for you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, have always been one of the bright lights of San Diego. Every time I've talked to you, every time I've seen you on the news, you're singing the praises of the city and the people. You've been a champion for this area. Can you just share with us a little bit about what brought you to San Diego and why you love it here?
Well, first of all, Darren, thank you very much for your very kind words. And you're right. I love San Diego, and I guess you can say that I am a product of tourism and a football game that changed my life. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. And in 1980, while I was a junior at the Ohio State University, I traveled to California to watch my Buckeyes play in the Rose Bowl. And I'm still sad to say that the Buckeyes lost that game to USC in the national championship by 1 point when USC scored a go-ahead touchdown in the closing seconds. But after that painful defeat, something wonderful happened. My friends and I, we took a side trip to San Diego to go to the world famous San Diego Zoo. And that was something that I had always wanted to do after seeing Joan Emery numerous times on the Johnny Carson show.
Right.
And, quite frankly, I didn't really care for Los Angeles. It was, all concrete and very smoggy back in 1980. However, San Diego was just so beautiful. And after visiting our world famous zoo and several beaches here in San Diego, I made a decision right then and there that I had shoveled my last driveway. So I returned to Ohio State, and after graduation, I jumped on a plane with $200 in my pocket and one suitcase and my guitar. And when I got off the plane in San Diego, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a job. I didn't even have a place to stay. And as I used to tell people, don't worry. As your police chief, I plan much better now. And I always thought that I would follow in my father's footsteps, who was a trial attorney in Cleveland, and go to law school. And I still thought that that's what I would do when I moved to San Diego and mostly put myself through college. And I knew that I was going to need a job here in San Diego to pay for law school. And I saw that the San Diego Police Department was hiring. So I joined the department thinking that that job would pay for law school. But from day one, I fell in love with being a police officer. I never went to law school. And 35 years later, I had the privilege and honor to retire as the chief of police. And, it just goes to show that the journey through life is really a straight line, that there will be many twists and turns. And I believe that you should embrace them because they could lead you to places you never imagined were possible.
Absolutely. I can so relate to that story, Shelley. I grew up north of Cincinnati, and I can remember watching the Rose Parade as a kid. And people are out there in t-shirts and it's warm and sunny, and I haven't seen the sun in weeks. And it's so bitterly cold that we couldn't get outside to play as kids. And I thought, man, if I can ever get there. And
Yeah, look what the weather we're having right now, and
oh, it's
compared to the rest of the country,
an 80-degree
phenomenal.
Christmas while everybody else is suffering below zero wind chills. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, you got here in 1982 and you joined the police department and you rose to the rank of chief, and you retired in 2018. Can you tell us a little bit about what the city was like and what policing was like when you first got here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Great question. I'll tell you, back in 1982, the city had about, I would say, a half a million, fewer people than today. There were very few tall buildings in downtown, and just so much open space. And I remember I used to remark that when I first moved to San Diego, there really was no skyline, so to speak, downtown. And now, San Diego is the eighth largest city in the United States with about more than 1.4 million people. Boy, I tell you, as far as policing goes and the changes, technology has really changed policing a lot. And give you an example. When I first joined the department in 1982, I had to carry a pocket full of dimes and then later quarters. And I had to often use payphones to obtain information. I used a Thomas Brother book map guide to respond to the numerous calls from our public. And when cell phones replaced pagers and when computers equipped with mapping and other technology systems became a standard piece of equipment inside a patrol car, police officers became more efficient and effective serving our communities. However, what hasn't changed is why someone becomes a police officer, and that is to serve our communities, to be part of something bigger than yourself. Policing truly is an honorable and noble profession. And as I mentioned earlier about falling in love with being a police officer, I'll give you two of the many reasons why. Let's face it, no one calls the police because something good has happened.
Right.
When the police are called, it's because something bad has happened. And as a police officer, you do have that privilege multiple times a day to respond to help somebody, and usually at the worst possible moment. And that's very powerful. And also, you're going to have the opportunity to use every bit of knowledge, no matter how important or seemingly meaningless that you've ever learned, because you're going to respond to the myriad of society's challenges.
Right.